for tuning in to Miss Self-Care 101 YouTube channel. And while you're visiting, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification button and click all so that you will be notified each and every time a video is uploaded to this page, Self-Care 101 with Nikkita Jackson. Also, while you're here, go ahead and thumbs up the video, like it, and please comment and share. This allows the community to grow and to give me the opportunity to provide relevant information to this community. Greetings and great day to you. I am Nikkita Jackson, also known as Miss Self-Care 101. And today I am coming to you with a daily share. So greetings and great day to you. Here is my daily share in regard to self-care. So before I get started, I want you guys to check out my amazing shirt. You guys know I am all about self-care. So my shirt reads, self-care is the best care, and without self-care, we go nowhere. If you like this shirt, you can head over to babychicagocollection.com. We have a ton of items that you can kind of scroll through. But most importantly, if you want this shirt that I am wearing today, as you see, I have paired it with the cardigan, you can get your shirt today. All right, so head over to babychicagocollection.com and get your self-care tee today. All right, so let's talk about what I came here for today. And what I came here for today is simple. I want to talk about something that we don't really talk about a lot, right? Or when we talk about it, people are really afraid to talk about it or feel like it is something that they don't want to talk about because they feel very bad when they have to say this daunting word, right? So I'm going to tell you the word. The word is, let me lean up. The word is boundaries. The word is boundary. The word is boundaries. Boundary, that's the word. And it is one that people are simply afraid to use and simply afraid to set in place. So I just want to first tell you what boundary is, and I'm going to paint it from my perspective. So there's different illustrations, there's different definitions regarding this word, right? So how I envision boundary, this is what I view a boundary being. Boundaries is simply, it's just a line, right? It's a line that you start and a line that you end. And the reason why I say it's a line that you start and a line that you end, because it is your line. It is the place or the area that you can tell others, come on, you're welcome. You're welcome to come in. Hey, start here. This is where we're going to start. But then it's also an area that you say, hey, it ends here. This is off limits. This area over here, that's off limits to you. So it's where you create an area that you want people to come and you want people to stay, but you also want people to know that you can't go past this line. So it's a line that you create and you start and you end. All right. So it's what you set forward for people, okay? So one of a really big social worker or a big name social worker in the mainstream media right now, her name is Brene Brown. I love her dearly. I have tons of her books because she does a lot of work when it comes to self-development, those type of things. But one of the things that she said that really resonated in my spirit, she says, daring to set boundaries is about having the courage to love ourselves enough, even when we risk disappointing others, right? Many times we fail to set boundaries in our relationships because we are afraid that we will disappoint someone else. I know this oh so well because I've always lived a life that I was afraid to disappoint anyone. All right. So I had a lot of childhood attachments and issues that I went through as a child. So I don't have this beautiful story. I don't have the story that some have where they grew up in this, like whatever the situation may be. I have a story of my own, and I really come from humble beginnings, right? Very, very humble beginnings, right? And so I had to break away of a lot of things that had formed me as a child that carried over into my adulthood. I had to break away from those things. And one of the things that I had to break away from and I had to also establish was boundaries. And so I always felt that creating boundaries, I would hurt people, right? I knew that I needed to set boundaries, but I was afraid. I was afraid of the reaction, right? And so I didn't utilize my no properly. So anytime I was invited to go to a place, if I was asked to do something, even when I knew I didn't have the time, even when I knew that I couldn't, devote or dedicate time, money or whatever, because I didn't have it to give at that moment, I would make up all kind of excuses. And I would just kind of create these whole fictitious scenarios to make that person feel comfortable with me saying no. Now, I am 34 years old, and it took a while. Took a while to get to this place. But now I realize that my no is for me. And my no does not have to have an explanation. I hear people all the time say no is a complete sentence, but when you're put in a situation and you have to utilize that no, it seems more easier said than done. And so I was the type of person, I didn't realize that saying no was as easy as it is, because in the beginning, it wasn't for me. I would say, no, I can't come because blah, 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 blah. Or no, I can't do this because blah, 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 blah. Now I just say no. Or sometimes I don't respond, because even sometimes responding, people prompt you to have an explanation. Well, why? Or why is this or why that? And then you found yourself back into that place of explaining, when in reality, you don't have to. But anyway, so it takes a while to get there, so I am just kind of spatting off, but I'm very passionate about boundaries because it is something that I struggled with, and it is something that I failed to do because I was, constantly thinking about disappointing others. But the person I disappointed the most was myself. The person that I disappointed the most was myself. The person I disappointed the most was myself. I didn't even view myself as valuable enough to understand that I mattered. I was only consumed and only fixated on how others felt. And you have to be in a really difficult place when you value others more than you value yourself. So I had to realize in that moment that I was equally important. I am just as important. I always say this, I am my longest commitment. So what good am I to anyone else when I'm not even good for myself? So that's what boundaries do for you. It includes you, right? It includes you. It makes you of importance. It makes you a priority. Better yet, it makes you the priority, right? Don't consider yourself a priority. You are the priority because you are your longest. You are your longest commitment. All right. So, and even in the Bible, in Matthew 5:37, it says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. So when I go back to that, utilizing your no, it's simple. No, right? No explanation needed, right? When you say yes, yes, let your yes be yes. When you say no and you need to utilize it in that moment, no. Simple as that. What they say, plain and simple. Plain and simple. All right. Another thing, another famous quote, I don't know if there's an author attached to it. I couldn't find an author when I used to utilize it all the time because I don't like to use people's stuff and not give them credit, but it's an unknown author. But it says that you're not required to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. So that's what boundaries mean. Like, you're not expected to do certain things. You can, by good grace and, just kind of, just being a good steward. But you shouldn't have to, or you shouldn't feel like you have to set yourself on fire, like burn yourself up to make someone else feel warm. Deplete yourself of all the things you have to give to someone else. You know what I'm saying? I was that person. I would just give. And sometimes giving isn't always money. Let's just clear that up, because people think that giving is always money. Sometimes it's giving your time. Let me tell you something, between my work life, between family, between friends, in the past, I've depleted myself totally, to the point when I get home, I'm no good for myself, for my little dog fur babies that I have, no good for nobody, right? Only thing I was good for was coming in the house, laying in the bed, and just going to sleep. I am a big journaler. I love reflecting. I love self-reflection. But it was a time where I was so depleted, I couldn't even self-reflect. Didn't know A from B. Even when I went to obtain my master's degree, I was so overwhelmed because I was doing a lot at the time. I was singing in my family's group. We had a family quartet group. So I was singing, I was traveling, I was involved in different organizations. I was working, I was rehearsing. I had a lot of things, to the point where, I had to start breaking away from things, because the ultimate goal that I wanted, which was to obtain my master's degree in social work, which I obtained. But I would not have obtained that degree had I not placed boundaries in place, because I was wearing myself too thin, going back, because I didn't want to disappoint others, right? So you may say, how do I set boundaries? What does that look like? Because guess what? Some of you guys, this is the first time you've heard this word. And the reason why I say it is because a lot of people don't even think about it. People don't care about setting boundaries. They don't think about it because that one thing, they don't want to hurt others, but then also they don't want to put anything in place, or they don't see themselves as valuable enough to set that in place. Some people say, well, I don't mind, I'm just going to keep showing up. I'm just going to keep doing this. Oh, I'll be there. Even when it hurts, I'll be there. Can you do this? Oh, I'm tired, but I'll be there. Can you donate this? I don't have no money. I'll do it. I'll pull from bill money. I'll do it. Some people have no boundaries. They do, and they give, 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 and they give. And what happens is that, going back to what I said before, who's hurting in the end, right? Who's hurting? You're hurting. Been there, done that. You're hurting. Been there, done that. You are hurting. All right. And the only people that really get upset with you setting boundaries is people that benefit from you. People that benefit from you. People that have a lifestyle of boundary setting. They have no problem with you setting a boundary. They have no problem with you saying no. They have no boundary with you saying, oh, not today, I need to rest. They have no problem. But it's the ones that are benefiting from you. It's the ones that can snap their finger and you're there. It's the ones that have a sense of control over you. It's the ones that those are the ones. Those are the ones that get upset with you setting a boundary for you, right? All right, so first thing first, I want to talk to you about setting healthy boundaries. What does that look like? And I'm going to tell you how I did it, right? All right, so one thing I had to learn was, one, my no is my no. I can use it anytime I want to use it. I don't have to have an explanation. I don't have to say anything for that matter. It is my no. And I utilize it as I please and when I please. And I don't feel bad for using it. That was the first thing. That was the way that I learned how to set boundaries. That was the place that I started. All right. And also in any type of relationships, if you're starting to use your boundaries and start to put boundaries in place, you definitely want to set them immediately. Make your boundaries be made known. Make them known instantaneously, immediately, right away. Let them know it right away. Set them immediately, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a whatever type of relationship, whether it's starting a new job. You ever know when you start a new job and they ask you, what are the days that, you can work? Is any days you can work over? So I'm a social worker and a therapist. So, I've worked in settings where they say, we have some obligations to work over. Will that be a problem? If you know that you are a mom, or if you know that you have other obligations, or if you know that, you're married, you have a spouse or significant other, or, if you know that you have all these in place, then you automatically know that, or you guys have something that you do every Wednesday night, then you automatically know that I am not available on Wednesday nights. No, I just can't do that. And I love to say this. I always say, I can't do this, but I can do this. Or if I can't do it at all, I say I can't do none of that. And I let that be known up front because you are clear, right? You are clear what you can do and what you're not willing to do. So you have to set those boundaries up front. See, many times what people try to do, they go boundaryless, they don't have no boundaries, and then they try to set them up, when somebody says something that you don't like. No, if you set your boundaries up front immediately when the relationship starts, they automatically know what they can do, what they can say, and what they can't play with you about, right? So you let them know, even when it comes to dating, you let that man, you let that woman know what you can do or what you won't do or what you're not willing to do, what you're not going to compromise. You let them know that up front, then there's no questions later. There is no questions later, So you set those immediately, all right? Also, when you set your boundaries, sometimes it's good to go in bite-size. Don't listen to this video or start reading boundary books and be like, I'm setting all these boundaries. Don't do that. Don't do it. Because you'll overwhelm yourself and you won't be consistent. So I like to say, even when it comes, for instance, with weight loss. So, I have a weight loss goal right now. So just say, for instance, like if it was to lose 100 pounds, which I don't plan to lose 100 pounds. But what if it was? I'm not going to say I'm losing 50 pounds during the month of December and we only have a few days left. That's ridiculous. That's foolish. That's crazy, right? So you want to make sure they're realistic and they're bite-sized so that you can be consistent and you can stick with it. So I might say, I'm going to lose 20 pounds, by my birthday in February. That's durable, right? I can lose that amount if but it's going to take something of me. I'll have to work out, change my eating, cut back on those carbs. So y'all know I'm a vegan girl, but I love the carbs. I love fries. I love chips, I love all that stuff. So if I was going to make that goal, it's a couple things I got to alter a little bit because I won't be able to jump right into it, right? So when it comes to boundaries, set them up. Me personally, I never could say no. So that was where I started. I was like, I'm about to start practicing. I used to look myself in the mirror and be like, I would come up with these fake scenarios and I'll say, no, I can't. No, I can't. I would practice my no. That was me. That was the worst thing I could say or do. I couldn't do it. That was why I started. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I started. And then I started, being able to look at my whole life and where I needed some boundaries in place in my workplace, all the way across, being a social worker. Sometimes jobs, they don't have boundaries. They kind of overlap and there's a lot of boundary blurring. And so as a social worker, you got to place that in place. You got to focus on that self-care. You have to realize that it's important, right? And so you have to put those in place. And so, I started trickling those boundaries down in all aspects of my life, Hey, you have to in your relationship, in your marriage, in your friendships, your family, all of that. You got to have a boundary in each one of them. You got to spread it out. That's what I did. I started one place at a time. There was like a domino effect, like ping, 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 ping. By the time I got down to the bottom, I'm mastering. So I'm a master boundary setter now. Love it. I love it. And another thing, you want to be consistent, as I stated before, unchanging. Don't allow others to alter your boundary. This is the thing too. People will try to do this. They'll try to change up your plans. When you say, no, I can't. Well, I think you can. Maybe if you do this and you do that, and then maybe you can come back at 3 and then I can come at 4. I didn't ask for all that. So you got to be consistent and unchanging. Don't let people change what you already set for. For instance, I know this is one thing I learned even being married. So with my husband, I will have plans, and people will say, hey, you know, can you do this? And I'll tell my husband like, well, maybe we can do that and then do this. And then I realized that doing everything for everybody else, it cuts out the things that we need to do, because not only are we husband and wife, you know, we run businesses, you know, I'm a professor, you know, we have so many things. My husband's an author, like we do so much stuff. So on a day-to-day, like, you know, Monday through Friday, we're super soaked and booked. Like we have a lot of stuff going on, whether it's our, you know, business or our, you know, we have things going personally. We have our own goals that we're trying to accomplish as well. And so sometimes, you know, when we plan days and plan outings for ourselves, it's like fun. Like we really doing this. We're really pulling ourselves away from the daily hustle and bustle, and we're having fun. So when people interject their own things and they say, I want y'all to do this, you know, I also am trying to alter that. That's when I wasn't really good at boundary setting. And my husband had to remind me like, so we're going to cut. We only got, we're going to do it an hour, you know. And he'll say, because he's you guys, my husband's super like pleasant, but he'll say, oh. And then I had to think about it like, dang, like you really going to cut y'all time in half to please somebody else because you don't want to hurt somebody else? So had to learn that. So don't allow others to change up what you set in place or what you've already established or what you already set your schedule for yourself. Don't let others do that. And when you're consistent and when you are unchanging, people won't do it. People only do that to people that is unstable. You know, you have to be stable in everything. You have to be consistent, and people won't have, you know, they're not able to go in and move stuff around if you don't let them. So be consistent and be unchanging. Another thing, communicate them well. You got to tell people what your boundaries are. Sometimes you got to spell it out to people. And when you got those people that just don't listen, write them a letter. Here's my boundaries. This is what this looks like. This is what it is. This is how it goes. You have to write it out for people, but you got to communicate. It is your boundary to communicate. You let people know. You let them know, and you got to communicate. It's not enough for you to be like, well, they should know that this and that, or they should know that I don't do things this and that way, or they should know that I don't, they should. No, you have to communicate it with them. Now, after you done communicated them and they still tell you that, and that's when you just say, no, let it be, and you move on. But sometimes you got to spell it out so that they'll know, right? So, and also understand that when you are setting boundaries and you are placing boundaries for yourself, there will be boundary conflicts. There's going to be boundary conflicts because we're dealing with people that are not benefiting from you setting the boundary. Your boundary is strictly for you. So it's going to be boundary conflicts. It's going to be that. And I had to come to the realization that that's the reality. But do you please people and be sad? Or do you please yourself and be happy? Now, I'm not saying that you can't, do things for people. This isn't the message that So that's not the message that I am trying to promote here or to push out. I just want you to see yourself as equally important. And I want you to understand that boundaries are healthy and they are necessary. And they are things that you should put in place or have in place in order for you to live a well-rounded life, and not a life that you feel like you're constantly people pleasing. You have to consider yourself and put yourself as the priority so that you can also see results in your own life. All right. So one of the books, I love sharing books. This is one of my favorite books. And this particular author, Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend, I read this book when I was first starting, practicing setting boundaries. Actually, one of my professors gave me this book when I was attending my master's program, when I was in my master's program. And he was like, you should read this. And he was my mentor as well. And so I had shared with him a lot about my life and, what drew me or what brought me to getting my master's and, my work life. And he was like, you need to get this book and you need to get the workbook. So I got the book and the workbook, did it both. However, they wrote a series of boundary books. They have like boundaries with teens, how to deal with your teenagers, boundaries with kids, how to set boundaries with your kids, boundaries in your marriage, boundaries in dating. Like they have all these boundary books. And so it's super, super dope. I like this book. And it was very helpful to me. And so if you were like I was, like I had a therapist, I was reading all these boundary books. I'm practicing. I had to do all of this in order to get to a place where I could simply say no. So if you was like me, you know, these are the steps I take. But some people, you know, they can turn it on and off easily. They know how to set boundaries for themselves. I didn't know how. I had no clue. So I had to do all of that. I had a therapist, had to learn what my boundaries were, had to learn, you know, how to set them. I had to learn how to say no. I had to practice. I had to practice that. You know, one of the things they said when it comes to self-efficacy, they said is, you know, one of the things is like you learn by practicing. It's one of the steps to self-efficacy. You learn by practice, or sometimes you learn by watching others. I was the type, I had to practice it. I had to practice saying no. That was the way that I reached that place of acceptance and being comfortable and saying it. I had to practice it over and over and over and over again. And I would start with like the smallest person that I wasn't super like intimidated by. I would start there first, and then I worked my way up. And when I got to the top and I was like, no, I was like, woo, I reached it. I worked my way up. But anyways, I just wanted to come to you guys today just to kind of share an enlightening video on boundaries and let you know that it's super important, and it is something that you can do and you can start today. You're not too old. You're not too young to set boundaries for yourself. It's super important. And once you set boundaries for yourself, you can start setting them in all areas of your life, all areas of, you know, in every area, like I said before, with your family, with your friends, with your significant other, in your marriage, in your workplace. You can set them all across the board, and it's just healthy. It's healthy for you. All right. So I'll let you guys go, and always remember, self-care is the best care, and without self-care we go nowhere. Have a great day.